How did you get your start?
Oh my! Oh, okay.
42nd and what?
How did I get my start? Well, I like to say that I got started. Will you shut them? I got started through the Yellow Pages, actually. I had a summer job when I was 15 years old, and my mother's friend at the time said, "Why would you want to work at a local department store when you could become a model?" And I hadn't thought of it. It wasn't something that I even entered my mind as being a possibility. And he said to me, "What have you got to lose by trying?" And I went, "Okay, nothing." So he got out the Yellow Pages, and he said to me, "The first thing you have to do when you ever want to start any project is research. So the one thing that you know is you have to work with photographers to be a model, and you have to work in Los Angeles, which is the closest city to where we were." So he put a map on the wall of LA, and he called every single photographer in Los Angeles to find out what the qualifications were for a model, what the business was about. We found out shortly that we needed to have an agent, and then he did a survey. So every time he would talk to a photographer, he'd ask questions about why this agency was good or bad, or what they, how they rated them, and he did this survey. So by the end of the day, we had a pretty good understanding of the modeling world and who the best agents were. And then also on the map on the wall, he put pins as to where the photographers were located, and we learned that through doing that the photographers like to cluster into neighborhoods. So the second day we drove into Los Angeles. I was 15. I was learning to drive. He's a cool guy. This man turned out to be my mentor for life and a dear friend, and she didn't marry, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, great guy, and he taught me to ride. He taught me to drive a cherry red Mustang convertible. It's a really cool car in the 60s, let me tell you. So I learned to drive, and I drove into Los Angeles with him, and we proceeded to knock on doors and meet photographers, and finally we went over to a model agency and eventually went into an agency who said, "I tell you what, we hate working with teenagers, but we have 2 auditions, and we'd like to send you on those auditions, and if you do well, then you come back to see us when you graduate from high school." So I thought, okay, cool, got nothing to lose. So I went on the next day, third day, I went on 2 auditions, and I learned a very important lesson. When you meet people and you go on interviews, be interested in. And I was very interested in the process of the modeling world, the art direction world, what it took to make a commercial. So I asked lots of questions. I was very enthusiastic, and actually was in there for an hour talking to the gentleman, and then went on and did the second audition, and pretty much the same thing happened. And then my next lesson was went home, and my mother's friend, his name was Gene, said, it's really important that when people give their time that you call them back and say thank you. So I kind of put it off until about 5:30 in the afternoon, typical teenager. And at 5:30 that afternoon, he walked into my room and he said, "You're going to make that call, and you're going to make it now." And I went, "Okay." And I called up the agent. And I said, "Hi, Miss Blanchard, this is Erin," and I didn't get my full name out, and she started to yell at me. She was like, "Where the hell are you? I've been looking all over Southern California for you. I didn't know where you were. I had no telephone number, nothing, and you have to be in the office in half an hour to sign contracts." And I went, "Huh? Huh?" She said, "Yes, you got both television commercials, both of the interviews that I went on. I got both the jobs, and I started right there. And I drove in, signed contracts, and following day starred in 2 national commercials. So that's how I got started."
How did you get the role on Buck Rogers?
On Buck Rogers, well, there was a period in between there when I started at 15, and then I went off to model after that in New York, and then went back to Los Angeles to focus at that time into acting, and signed a contract with Universal Studios. I was one of the last contract players. And one of the first jobs I did was called Evening in Byzantium with Glenn Ford, and I had finished 6 weeks of shooting, very tired. I had worked all night long when I got a call from the studio that I needed to be in the studio when I finished work at 11 o'clock to screen test for something called Buck Rogers. I knew nothing about Buck Rogers. They didn't give me a script. I had nothing, and I was very tired, and I didn't want to go, and I didn't want to do it. And I remember arguing with them, and they said, "No, you're a contract player. We don't care if you've been up 48 hours. You've got to be here to do the screen test at 11 o'clock." And I went, "Okay." So I came in, and I had a little bit of an attitude. I was like kind of dour and sort of mad, and I didn't want to be there, and all I wanted to do was go home and go to bed and take a shower. And Gil, sitting next to me over here, can't stand it if somebody's not laughing or having a good time. So he worked really hard at kidding around and trying to make me laugh, and the more he tried to kid around, the meaner I got. And of course, it was the perfect chemistry between us. And of course, all the other young ladies who were screen tests were all very eager beavers. Just, "Oh, I'd love to have the part." And, "Oh, it's just wonderful." I'm like, "Could I get out of here? I mean, will you cut it out? Who the hell do you think?" It was great. So I guess that attitude worked on screen. And anyway, I got the part.
Yeah, Silver Spoon.
Silver Spoon.
What was it like working on that?
Love working on Silver Spoon. For me, Buck Rogers was a great role, but the hours were very long, and I had a baby at home at that time, so it was very difficult for me to be away from my child at that young age. So when I got Silver Spoons, it was great because my hours were very short. Ricky was in school till noon, so I didn't have to show up until then. And usually I only had a couple of scenes, and I was home by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and I made every little league game or t-ball practice or whatever. So it was a really great time in my life. It was great learning how to do comedy because I hadn't done comedy before. And I loved everyone I worked with, from Franklin Seals to Joel Higgins, Ricky Schroeder to Jason Bateman. Everyone was fabulous. And it was a great 5 years doing live performances every week in front of a live audience, which was certainly different than Buck Rogers. It was just great. Just all around.
I completely forgot that Jason Bateman. He was Derek.
He was Derek.
I haven't seen the show in so long.
I know. He was a devilish young man. Let me tell you. I could tell then he was going to be a handful as he got older.
Just two more and I'll let you go.
Just all around.
I completely forgot that Jason Bateman. He was Derek.
He was Derek.
I haven't seen the show in so long.
I know. He was a devilish young man. Let me tell you. I could tell then he was going to be a handful as he got older.
Just two more and I'll let you go. Have you ever done any independent films?
I have. I have a film coming out called Dreams Awake, and I understand that they just sent me an email or a text message saying that the website is up. So I imagine just Google Dreams Awake and you'll be able to find it. And I think that's the only one I have that's still in the can that hasn't come out yet.
Lastly, would you say something like, "Hi, I'm Erin Gray. I just want to encourage you to come to the Sidewalk Film Festival in Birmingham this year"?
Okay. Hi, I'm Erin Gray, and I want to encourage you to come to the Sidewalk Film Festival in Birmingham, Alabama.